this agenda of the regular meeting of Freeport City Council this Monday, May 6, 2024 at 6 p.m. I will declare that a quorum is present and that all notices have been legally posted pursuant to the Open Meetings Act. At this time, would you please join me as our Councilman Rosso gives us the prayer and the pledges of allegiance.
Let's pray. Lord, once again, we thank you for being such a good God. We thank you for bringing us into this place. Give us a mind to do the right thing, make the right decisions. We ask you, Lord, to bless our troops overseas. We ask you, Lord, to bless the city of Freeport. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
You may be seated. At this time of the agenda, it is the time for you as citizens of the city of Freeport to speak up. And I have a few here. We'll do ladies first. Miss Patty Richardson.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
First, I'd like to start with congratulating all of you that ran in the race and had success and are going to be here again for the next term. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you even more, Mr. Winston Rosso, because you're going to be my Ward D councilman. So I'm hoping that you have a lot of success in these next 3 years. I'm hoping you will do things the way I would have done them. Probably not, but I'm hoping that you'll have a lot of success doing things in the next 3 years that take us to the next level. I'm hoping that after you finish your term and you have a successful 3 years, that you'll support me so that I can do the same thing and possibly continue where you leave off. So anyways, thank you all very much. I'm so glad this thing is over. It was hard. I don't know if y'all noticed that I worked really, really hard, and I'm glad the best man won.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. John Damian.
Good afternoon, Council.
Good afternoon, sir.
Come in to speak against the ordinance for the...
Hey, John, can you speak in the mic, please, sir? There you go.
Okay, I come in...
You may have to pull it down just, there you go. Thank you.
The ordinance for the tenants, what's it called? Adopting registration and inspection of the rental complexes. My name is John Damian. I live at 119 West 5th Street, number 1 unit, as a tenant with the Brazoria County Housing Authority on April 8th, 2024. According to the HUD regulations, check certification that my unit at 119 West 5th Street passed inspection and ensured the rental unit was decent, safe, and sanitary. This is an annual inspection that the Housing Authority does at my unit, the rental unit. And the reason I'm here today is I'm asking if I could be exempted from this fee. If y'all approve this ordinance, this additional fee is going to put a more burden on my water bill, because my water bill went up when y'all raised the water bill last year, September or whenever. So my water bill is higher now, and then y'all going to add this additional fee, which I don't know how much it is. It's going to cost me more. I'm on disability. I have fixed income, so it's just going to create a burden for me. Under the I'm under the American Disabilities Act. I understand that the purpose of these regulations is to ensure safe and sanitary and suitable living environments to protect and secure the public's health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the city. I also would like to mention the unit I live at has a fire sprinkling system and smoke alarms and those oxygen sensors that were put in because of housing, HUD. Also, and my question is, would I be charged this fee because I do have a water bill. I do pay a water bill for this unit I live at. And I understand there's several citizens here in Freeport that are on housing. But it seems like when they had the Planning and Zoning Commission, they didn't have no idea how many people were on housing. So they couldn't figure out that these people get their homes inspected, units, rentals, houses, or whatever that are under HUD, they get an annual inspection. And so my question is, am I gonna have to pay that fee since I have to pay a water bill? Is that fee gonna be added to my water bill, which is gonna increase? And right now, this month, I paid $71 on my water bill. I got the receipt right here. And then I got the letter from housing where they come and do my inspection on my housing. So, additionally, the interior inspections comply to my unit at 119 West 5th Street.
Mr. Damien, thank you, sir. You spoke your 4 minutes.
Okay.
But thank you. But we'll get answers to your questions.
Will you answer my questions?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mr. Manning Rollerson?
Good afternoon, council.
Good afternoon.
Congratulations to everyone. I come today to talk about the landlord tenants bill that you about to pass, or if y'all considering passing. Number one, you know where I stand at with it, Mr. Bass, about these landlords and how they're taking care of the properties and how the tenants have to live in conditions that third world people don't live in, okay? But I disagree that the burden should be put on the taxpayer, because the taxpayer is not their issue. It's the issue of those landlords who should be taking care of their business. They're accepting the money from these people. They picked up that burden. They need to handle that burden. It's not the people's problem because somebody else is not handling their financial responsibility. Okay, so that's where I'm at on that. Because if you rent a house, people expect to have a good house to live in. They expect to have a landlord that's fair and treat them right. That's why they don't buy homes, because these other people will take care of the issues that's more important to keep it safe. But at this point, we know what we have in this community. We have a bunch of property owners that complain, and they still go up on the rent on everybody in the community. That needs to stop. It needs to stop. People don't need to live in these conditions. I live in the house that I live in 11 years, and I can see outside my house. I have electrical issues, like the apartments over there. Young lady right now with 3 kids. Her breaker box burned up right at the Remingtons. The landlord told her it's her fault. Called Centerpoint and let them come fix it, but the man owned those apartment complexes over there, and that's an unsafe condition. He's not handling his financial responsibility, so that's supposed to be the taxpayer's responsibility? No, it's not. It's their responsibility, and they need to take care of their financial responsibility. And the last thing but least is that we need to really find out about the encroaching on Freeport with that contract. I made that statement in the forum. The statement is correct. Margie Matthews is the lady that they went to, okay? And everyone that's down there on Cherry Street and those side streets. They also went to the Christian church and asked them about buying their property also. So the port is doing what they say they are not doing. So the city needs to handle their business when it comes to agreements and contracts, because we know how all of this plays out. But at the end of the day, I'm right along with Mr. Bass about these landlords handling their financial responsibility.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Rob Gieske.
Good evening, council.
Oh,
Mr.
I'm
Mayor.
sorry, you wanted to talk about item number 13 when it comes up?
If I could just be on the, in case that comes up as you get further into the agenda, I've just got general comments.
Certainly, sir.
I'm going to make a general comment about that agenda item. I don't think you're going to need me to talk in depth about that. But
All right, sir.
First, I do want to echo Ms. Richardson's congratulations to those who got the most votes on Saturday, but I also want to recognize and thank those who didn't, who came in second. I mean, it's a sobering endeavor to put your name on the ballot and go out there and vote. It's a lot of work, a lot of stress, and for everybody that participated as a candidate, you have my respect. With regard to item number 13, it's one of those issues where we were able to cooperate, get some cooperation between the port and the city of Freeport, and that's been one of the things that I've wanted to do the most since I've been on the Port Commission, is to foster a better relationship moving forward. I know we've had some ups and downs. We were kind of at a low ebb early last year, but I think we've made some progress since then, and this is just another step on that journey. So I'm glad to see that we're able to work together for the betterment of the community here. Quick port update while I'm here. You've probably seen the vehicles on the trucks, the new cars coming in. That's Volkswagen. So far, we've had 11 ships that have come to Port Freeport, about 24,000 vehicles. So they're on track to do their about 140,000 vehicles or so that they had originally planned. So we're glad to see that. And keep in mind, every time one of those ships comes in, it takes about 140 to 160 ILA workers to go and get those vehicles off the ships and over to the Volkswagen processing facility. And at that facility, I was in a meeting a couple weeks ago with the site manager for Volkswagen, and he told us that they're fully up to speed. They've got about 115 employees there, and about 70% of those reside here in Brazoria County. So we're really happy to see that. Glad to report that that's coming together just the way that we had hoped that it would. More good news down the road. Del Monte will start operations next month. Their first ship is scheduled to come in the last week of June. And once they're fully operational, that'll be another 100 or so jobs. So about 300 jobs between the two of them. So we're real proud to see that, and happy to see it. I do want to address, I wish I didn't have to come up here and talk about this, but this rumor that's going around about the port soliciting the purchase of property outside or in the protected zone. Y'all may remember that was a deal that we had on the East End settlement, that the port would not buy any property north of Highway 36 or west of Pine Street without voter approval. And we're sticking to that deal. We're sticking to our end of the bargain. There's nobody at the port that I'm aware of that has any inkling that we would buy any property inside the protected zone. And I will say that I will be the first one to come out in opposition if there was any discussion about that. In fact, the opposite is actually true. We're actually in the process of selling off about 15 lots that the port has accumulated over the years that's inside the protected zone. So we're working through our mechanism, the process to make that happen, to get those back into private hands and back on the tax rolls. So I don't know what somebody heard or somebody saw, but sometimes people see 2 + 2 and they come up with 5 or 8 or 57. I don't know. But in any case, that rumor is, I can state categorically that is false. So again, thank y'all for giving me the opportunity, and I'll be available on agenda item 13 if there needs to be any further input from me. Have a good meeting.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Sam Rena.
Mayor, Council, good evening. My name is Sam
Good evening,
Reyna,
sir.
and I reside at 2002 North Avenue G. It's not official, but I want to congratulate Mayor Kane, Councilman Russell, and Councilman Davis. Good job. I also want to thank Ms. Patty Richardson, Mr. Manning Rollerson, and Mr. Eric Hayes for being involved in the election process. I especially want to thank Mayor Bass for his service and dedication to the city of Freeport. Being the mayor is not an easy task. You attend all city functions if time permits, and that deprives you of quality time with the family. Thank you, Mayor. 2 Hispanics and 2 African Americans representing the 4 wards. No Anglos. And that's a first. Y'all have just made history. Now that we have this type of profile on the city council, we can eliminate social and economic marginalization and erase the face of Jim Crow off the city of Freeport. Councilman Mayor-to-be Kane made a statement that he would like to see more new businesses coming to our city. I agree. We need to entice new business partners, reach out to all the black-owned businesses that tried to open shop in Freeport. Maybe we can lure them back to the table. We owe them that much and more. Those businesses spend thousands of dollars to open their businesses only to be booted out of town by the prior administration. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Mr. Wade Dillon.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My name is Wade Dillon. I'm the museum manager for the Freeport Historical Museum. I just wanted to invite each of you, as well as the public here tonight and the city of Freeport and all the citizens of Brazoria County to the opening of our updated Fort Velasco exhibit on May 15th. This covers the famous 1832 Battle of Fort Velasco, all the politics and personalities involved, and will run until the very end of June. And if you haven't visited the museum in a while, come check it out. We had our grand reopening back in January. The whole space has been updated. So yeah, come on by. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Nicole Mireles, 2002 North Avenue G in Freeport. I want to make comments after Mr. Reyna made a comment that now we're going to have two and by the way, congratulations to all you guys and the people that ran and stepped up to the plate. But nonetheless, I have, he made the comment, we have 2 Hispanics and 2 blacks. What does it matter? I'm sorry. I know we live in the same household, but we have different views. Sorry, but nonetheless, I'd like to also read something that was sent to me off of social media, so it's a public record. It says, "You can't win here unless you're chosen by City Hall. Wait till you hear our new council speak. No professionals on council now. Very sad, but I killed it." And that person's here, and she came up here to talk to y'all. Shame on her. You know, we have issues, and whatever issues, step up to the plate. Be positive. I know I've lost. You know, you guys know I've been on council and I lost, but did I quit coming to council meetings? Did I quit being involved? Get involved in a positive way. That's all I'm saying, you know, that, and this is very offensive to me that we don't have professionals on council. Seriously? And y'all should be offended by that too. But anyway, I just, you know me, Mayor, I have to get it off my chest, and I'm very, very disappointed in what was written on social media. And thank God that she didn't get picked. I would hate to have somebody on council with this mindset. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, now at this time, we have our presentation announcements, and the first, number 1, is presentation of Employee of the Month for the month of March 2024. Mr. Petty. They're not going to make it. All right, very good. Well, then we'll go to number 2. Chief Howell? We have 2 proclamations for National Correctional Officers Week and proclamation for National Police Week. Would you like to just address those just briefly?
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Good evening.
Yes, I had just brought forth 2 proclamations again. This week is National Correctional Officer Week. We do have 2 jailers that work for us full-time, and then next week is National Police Officer Week. And so again, just an opportunity to be able to recognize our staff for the work that they do and show some additional appreciation.
Thank you, ma'am. I have reviewed both proclamations, and I have signed and affixed my signature on both of them, so they are done, and we thank you and for your leadership. We thank your employees working under your leadership that do the things that sometimes they'd rather not do, and we also thank the correctional officers, and because, you know, they're not out patrolling the streets, but they're making sure that our loved ones that may be arrested or taken care of and are safe and secure in our jail. So
Yes, sir.
thank them all from me.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Item number 4, Mrs. Zell, if you'll please come up, presentation of the investment report for the quarter ending March 31st, 2024.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
As of March 31st, 2024, we have $28.5 million in investments in our bank accounts and our 2 investment pools. Interest is looking great. We have, as of the end of March 31st, we have received $721,137 in interest that is spread throughout the various different funds.
And the $28 million, can we use it if we have an emergency?
You can use about $1 million of it if you have an emergency.
Yes.
The rest of it, not so much.
Yes, ma'am. All right, council, do you have any questions on the presentation? If not, thank you, ma'am. We'll go into council business regular session. Item number 5 is consideration and possible action on the approval of city council meeting minutes from April 15th, 2024.
Mayor, I have a couple of edits on that request.
I'm sorry?
I have a couple of changes I want to request.
All right, well, go ahead and request it, sir.
Let the record show the minutes are incorrect and need to be updated and corrected. The minutes reflect that I was escorted by Chief Howell, when in fact I left on my own accord. Chief Howell never contacted me or communicated any direction to leave the premises, as it was obvious I was already leaving on my own accord after Mayor Bass had expressed his obscenities. That's the first change I'd like to make. And the second change that I see on there is the minutes also do not reflect the perverted vulgarity is purposely used by Brooks Bass. Brooks Bass cowardly used the term penis to address me in open session and foolishly feigned to cover it up as pretending it was a slip of the tongue. So I want that corrected, when in reality it was his egregious attempt to malign my surname with racist name twisting using profanity in an open session in the mayor's role.
Okay.
You are an embarrassment to Freeport. You degrade yourself and sadly the seat of the
Is that a
mayor.
form of a motion, sir?
Yes, I'd like to make the
Okay.
motion that
So we
it's
have a
updated.
motion from Councilman Pena.
Thankfully,
We
this
have a
meeting was
motion
your last
from,
meeting.
yes, sir, we have a motion from
And I
Councilman
hope you
Pena
can stop
to make.
repeating the perverted words
Okay, thank you, sir.
of
We have a
penis
motion
and
from
keep the word
Councilman.
penis out of your mouth.
Wow. We have a motion from Councilman Pena to amend the minutes. Is there a second? Is there a second?
I was
Motion
not escorted.
fails. Therefore, I
There
will
you have your
move,
counsel.
excuse me, sir, I will move to approve the meeting minutes. Do I have a second?
Mayor, I'll second your motion.
Thank you, Councilman Matamoros. We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All
Nay.
opposed? All opposed?
Nay.
Nay. 4-1, with Councilman Pena being the nay. Item number 6, consideration and possible action approving ordinance number 2024-2728, adding a new subsection to 8 to Article 2, registration and inspection of multifamily rental complexes. Ms. Shelby Marujo, sorry.
Thank you. Good evening, council. So
Good evening.
The point of this is the city has received numerous complaints from citizens in Freeport expressing concerns about the conditions associated with the multifamily rental complexes
Ma'am,
throughout the
will
city.
you please,
Sorry.
thank you, speak up a little bit more.
The city council has directed staff to create a registration and inspection program for multifamily rental complexes, and staff has completed the process and ordinance of approval. The proposed ordinance was presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission on April 3rd, and it was passed with 3-2 vote with changes. In section 16-51, under the inspection section and D.
Section 16, what, ma'am?
16-51, under inspections. And section D, it was changed from 4 days to 72 hours.
Okay,
Okay, and in 16-48, under registration, it was to add the phone numbers of the individuals. And the third one they wanted to actually incorporate was the exemption of Section 8 from this program. The financial impact of this program, we will need a full-time inspector on staff. And we were setting the unit was $5 per unit per month.
and let me ask you this, why is the $5 per month on the tenant versus the landlord?
Well, on page 3,
And Mr. Petty, if you would like to chime in, please do so.
hang on, page 3, there it is, my fees, sorry about that. So under 16-49, it says an apartment complex inspection fee will be charged to each complex. Right now, we are still trying to hash it out as in terms of meters. Some have master meters and some have individual meters. So we are going through that process.
Mayor, the intent is to charge the complex owner, not the individual tenant. Now, I think we all recognize that all expenses are essentially passed through in some capacity, but it is not to bill them individually, the tenants.
So this ordinance change at this time does not put the onus on the tenant. It puts the onus on the complex owner or the landlord. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right.
And as she said also, a lot of these apartment complexes have a master meter, so all their water is sub-metered inside the units, and that's done on the private side. So we wouldn't be charging that back to the individuals.
We would not be?
Would not.
Would not be. Manning, you hear that? Manning, okay, he's gone.
What does that mean? I'm in the floor plan.
Okay, hold on a second. What that means is, the way I'm hearing it, Mr. Damian, is that you will not be charged any additional monies, any additional increases for this service. Now, I do have a couple of corrections on page 5. 16-52B4A. There's an S by itself.
Yep.
That needs to be moved over to apartments. And then I wasn't sure of the year that you had, it has it as January 1st of 2023. I would think that would be retroactive.
Correct.
So would that year be 2024, 24?
We're going to give them a grace period. Do we know what that period's going to be at this time?
Right. It's all going to be about education in the first few months. We are going to be going out, reaching out to these apartment owners, letting them know there is an inspection program coming into place. We will be giving out all of the checklists as in terms of interior and exterior, so they're not actually just knowing not what to expect when we get out there.
Okay.
I mean, that's going to be up to council on how much time you want to give them to get up to speed.
Well, I agree, but I can't vote on something that has an improper date on it.
Oh, I understand. Yes, sir.
So, I would suggest that if you're going, that I would say on or before June 1st of 2024 instead of January 1st, 2023. And so I would make the motion to approve.
Do we have the discussion about the HUD stuff?
Yeah.
Because it's not in here.
Right.
And
No,
that was really my
We'll
call.
talk about that with some discussion, I'm sure.
Yes, sir.
So I'd like to make the motion that we approve ordinance number 2024-2728 with the two corrections that I pointed out, moving the S to the apartment and changing January 1st, 2023 to June 1st, 2024. Is there a second?
Mayor, I'll second your motion, but I do have a correction also.
Yes, sir.
Section, it is page 6, section 16-54, 5-year standards for apartment complexes. That states January 1st, 2027. That should be 2029.
Correct. Thank you.
Since we're adding 5 to the 4.
Yes.
Yep.
Right.
All right. So I will amend my motion to include January 1st of 2029 under section 16-54, 5-year standards for apartment complexes. Do I still have your second?
Yes, sir, you do.
All right. Do we have discussion?
Yes, Mayor, I would like for you to expand on the Section 8 or the HUD. Are they going to be exempt from this since they already go through a similar process with the state?
So I actually did reach out to HUD Authority this afternoon. I did speak with Ms. Craner. They do actually go through an annual program every year, and they do get initial inspections annually or whenever new tenants move out and new ones move in. So they do issue inspection reports, and so we are possibly going to work out something as in terms of if on the 10th, we could
If
possibly
what?
ask for that inspection report.
Okay.
Yeah, the only reason it wasn't put in there is I think staff has some concerns that some of this stuff has slipped through the cracks. Some of the inspections that HUD has done, the city has gone back and found issues with that report. If we are going to exempt somebody like a housing authority, I think it needs to be really universal to any governmental entity that does a similar type of an inspection, if they can provide such a report. But I think the concern at the staff level and why it's ripe for discussion up here is, do you want that extra layer? Do you want to allow staff the opportunity to go in there and just make sure that they're doing their inspections properly?
And I don't have an issue with that, as long as we're able to look at their reports and then confirm it with our own eyes or with our reporting system.
Right.
So currently, as written, it does not accept them or provide any kind of a break. I think the idea was, I mean, we even discussed the possibility of some sort of abbreviated inspection where you're really just going through their inspection report just to double check and not doing our own primary inspection, or some hybrid of an inspection.
Right.
I'm not 100% sure what that looks like. I'm going to have to rely more on staff to come up with what that inspection actually looks like. But we really need some guidance from y'all up here as to which direction we want to go in.
Well, I mean, I'm okay with giving them a break, especially if they do the inspections, but as long as they're doing the inspection correctly. So, my thought process would be is that, we can exempt them, but we need to do an oversight as well.
Right. And I did actually reach out, like I said, to Brazoria County HUD Authority, and they said that the turnaround times on certain types of complaints could possibly be 1 to 2 weeks.
I think the safety of our citizens is the utmost importance.
All right, anything else?
I have a couple of comments.
Yes, sir.
I just want to say that this ordinance here is, in my opinion, carelessly fast-tracked, and it's overreaching. And first and foremost, I'm just concerned that here in the month of February, council directed city staff to create a workshop and a committee of residents and business owners or whoever the council had selected to discuss and outline how a rental ordinance, if at all, should be created, number one. So I'm wondering why we are skipping that whole process of having that workshop so that we could actually have feedback from residents and business owners, because as it's structured now, I'm all for safety. I always talk about safety and cleanliness, but here's the thing. You start imposing all of these fines and overreaching big government on what is at least 60% of the housing community in Freeport, which is about 60%, which comes out to, with the last census, 10,000 folks here, that comes out to about 6,000 residents. So I'm not interested in raising rents here, and I know that at the forum, it was expressed by one of the candidates. I think it was actually candidate or Ward B Councilman-elect, Mr. Davis. He had expressed, he had also had been in a rental property before, and he also had said, listen, it's going to make sense that if these landlords are having to make the repairs that are necessary, even when they're on Section 8 or public housing, that rents are going to go up. So I want to make sure that we can create a program where we're not hurting the renters and having their incomes, their limited incomes affected in terms of paying for rent. And I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about the increased cost to the city, that we're not really taking that in consideration, and how many other options there are to lean on these other agencies that can do what they do better than us. We don't have anybody, we don't even have any housing, any public housing in Freeport, but the surrounding cities around us do, and I'm sure we could glean off of that. I've always said, hey, we should have an office space in City Hall strictly for public housing, and this way more residents have better options. And right now there is none, there are none, and instead of trying to penalize the landlords, we got to incentivize the landlords. And so I have a problem that this ordinance has been fast-tracked just to appease what I call as a vanity ordinance here. Let's get it right. I'm not saying that we can't get it right so that it's safe and clean and economically advantageous for the city and for the residents and for the businesses, but what I am saying is that as it is now, this thing is overreaching and it's going to hurt our economy. And it's a matter of supply and demand. Rents go up, people can't afford them. If we're over here imposing all of these fees through code enforcement, they're going to raise rents. And I'm glad to hear that at the forum that was discussed and agreed upon, but that's not reflected in this ordinance. How do we solve that problem? And so, we can solve this problem, but we don't have to hurry up because we're trying to get it done before one councilman is leaving. I mean, I'm not sure why we're doing this at the last minute and why it was rushed, when even in February we asked specifically for city staff, city hall, city management, city manager, to get a workshop, a committee of residents put together, and that was never done. And so I'm just asking, why are we allowing this to move forward? Why it even went to P&Z, which was 3-2, it wasn't unanimous. Usually P&Z is pretty good about, hey, this all makes sense, it's all buttoned up, or they button it up and then they send it out unanimously. It was 3-2. And I just ask everybody to look at that, take a pause of prudence. But to rush to pass this harmful ordinance, will hurt our housing economy. And as it is, we are in a recession. Taxes have been up from the last year, and now we're going to impose more maintenance, no ifs, ands, or buts. And I'm telling you, it's going to have the ripple effect of affecting the families, their rents, how they're able to put food on their table. But when those monies have to go to rent, because it's mandatory and people's rents go up, that means there's less money, less disposable money, and what that actually affects are the local businesses, the local mom and pops. And so this has a trickle-down economics effect and a trickle-up that'll bring it down for Freeport. And I just want to make sure that everybody's aware of that, the public as well. These are the issues that I try to bring up. It's just business 101. This is economics 101. You don't have to be a professional to know that. You just had to go through, I think, 8th grade, and I was taught that. But listen, another thing that was brought up, and I had another quote because I watched that forum, was Mayor-elect Jerry Kane had also quoted saying, hey, listen, typically when you buy a home, you have the opportunity to get an inspection, and he's exactly right about that. He's exactly right about that. And he also went on to say that renters should be no different. And that's where I want to help clarify. Because who pays for the inspection if you've ever bought a home? The owner does. And it's usually about $300. And if the inspection is cool, if it's good, it's clean, they move forward and buy the house. But if it's not, they tell the seller, hey, I want those fixes. or I want a concession on the price. Why we're trying to change that or try to create that paradigm and put all of that responsibility on the city makes no sense. When the market takes care of it on the buying and selling, like Mayor-elect Jerry Kane here expressed, but that doesn't exist in the rental market, except for the fact that folks can go look at a house and determine whether or not they want to live there or not. And so I'm not sure why we want to create all of this additional cost to our city that can actually hurt our economy and, for that matter, hurt our residents. The aim is right, but the target's wrong. You know, the problem is the arm, and we're over here doing surgery on the leg. And I'm just saying here that we need to take a moment to, you know, I know there's a motion in place, but I would make a motion to table if we could, so that we can get it right. And then everybody could be happy. Landlords, the city, the residents who are going to be paying the taxes, because taxes are going to go up. Forget the fact that the rents are going to go up. Taxes are going to also go up. Why? Because we're paying for more code enforcement staffing. So let's make sure that we all know about all the various issues on this here, so we can cross every T and dot every I, so that in fact can cultivate a better rental market for Freeport. Because this is the blue collar economy. This is the blue collar city of Brazoria County. This is where folks come for affordable living, and there's no Section 8, and there's no public housing. At least there's none that's promoted by the city. And I think if we just made a little effort in that direction so that we can lean on Section 8 and we can lean on public housing, that we would save our residents, we would save our city money, we would save our residents' rent, our residents' tax money, and for that matter, our economy here. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Anybody else? Well, there's some things that are worth more than money, Councilman Pena, and it's safety of
Renters.
the individuals that are living there.
I'm just worried about the rent
So,
money.
excuse me, sir,
I'm
I
just
gave
worried
you
about the
plenty
rent
of
money.
time to talk, so would you let me speak now? So, I find your argument unpersuasive in regards to the
I'm just trying
timing.
to inform.
Excuse me, Councilman Pena, please, be quiet.
Go on.
Thank you. I find your argument unpersuasive in that we've talked about rental inspections for the multi-use for a number of years, which is what's coming to fruition tonight. You keep saying 6,000 people. Well, that is individual houses, which I hope this council, with or without your help, will continue down the road and will do rental inspections on individual houses. Because I don't know of how many times I have been stopped and I have gone and seen houses that are in poor condition, having to run extension cords from one side of the room to the other, holes in the floor covered up by tarps, ceiling fans hanging down by the wires. Safety. 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 So, with that, and if there are no further comments,
I got
will
one other
call-
comment,
well,
Mayor.
Actually, I'm going to call this question to the vote. Thank you.
I said it before you said that, though.
Well, I'm calling it for a vote. Thank you,
Well,
sir.
that's unfair to the public.
Yeah, well, you know,
It
that's
was
good.
fast track. Even the code enforcement director
Yeah.
said they made a phone call this afternoon.
Councilman
How-
Pena?
How much fast tracking is
We
that?
have called it for a vote. So all those in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
The rental increase ordinance, absolutely not.
Okay, thank you. I don't see anything in here where it says rental increase, but that's fine because it passed
'Cause you don't
4-1.
understand
Now, I guess I didn't graduate from 8th grade, so there you have it. Okay, thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate each one of y'all because this is going to be important for the citizens of Freeport. This is going to be important to their well-being in Freeport. And I encourage this council to go on and do a single-family unit inspection to ensure that folks have quality and safe homes to live in and to raise their children in. Thank you very much. Item number 7.
Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yes, sir.
Can we go back to presentation number 1? I do see our fire here, and
Oh,
I would like
okay,
to.
we're good? All right, very good, yes. Presentation of Employee of the Month for the month of March 2024, Mr. Petty.
Thank you, sir. This is for Employee of the Month for March, and we have 3 employees that Chief Motley submitted for that month. And I'll read something that Chief Motley wrote about you guys, and we'll go from there. So in the fall of 2023, the department had posted the assignment of driver operator, but did not have qualified internal applicants. 3 candidates, firefighter Betancourt, firefighter Martinez, firefighter Swango, enrolled in class for driver operator certification program for a Texas Commission on Fire Protection certification. The course was taken online at a self-paced. Each student studied on their own and encouraged each other through their educational process. When each one completed the online portion, they were required to complete a skills session under a testing proctor. Once this testing was complete, each employee was eligible to take the TCFP state exam. Each firefighter that completed the program challenged the state exam and passed on the first time. What I noticed about these 3 firefighters is that they encouraged each other or pushed each other to move forward, but didn't leave each other behind. As you know, in any class, there are challenges in learning the material, retaining the information, and testing to pass the course, along with reporting to work and working. As chief, I am proud to recognize these 3 firefighters for furthering their fire service education to better serve the department and the services provided to the community. With the current vacancy assignment of driver operator, firefighter Betancourt, firefighter Martinez, and firefighter Swango have been assigned driver operators to each of their shifts. The assignment of driver operator is not a separate position, but an additional assignment in addition to their firefighter EMT duties. Thank y'all very much.
Yes, sir, thank you. Item number 7, consideration and possible action approving the agreement and resolution number 2024-2855 to permanently close at-grade public road crossing for West First Street at Railroad Milepost 15.435 with Union Pacific Railroad. Mr. Petty.
Yes, sir. Staff was contacted by Union Pacific Railroad and received an agreement to review and approve the permanent at-grade closure of the public road crossing at West First Street and South Magnolia. The crossing is not utilized due to the clearance and width of the crossing. The overall condition of the infrastructure is in much need of repair. Union Pacific, at their sole cost, is proposing to fill in and permanently close at the time of approval by council. The stormwater system over there is underground, so it won't have any effect on the drainage over there because there's inlets on the other side of that crossing that lead to the stormwater pump station. And I know at the recommendation of the mayor, you'd asked me to contact them about painting a bridge for us. I did contact them numerous times and had numerous conversations with them about it, but they do not own any of the railways. And Burlington Northern, BASF owns them. And the one that was in question, Union Pacific does not own that one as well. I did attach some photos of the area so you can see the condition of the crossing right now and how narrow it is and everything like that.
You can sure drive a vehicle through there, though.
You can rub your mirrors on it, yes,
No,
sir.
I don't rub my mirrors on it. All right, council, do y'all have questions on this? I mean, I'm personally against it because I like having the egress and ingress underneath the railroad right there. I think it's kind of cool, and they just need to repair it as it is. But this is a democracy, so what would y'all like to do?
Mayor, I have a question. And I know Mr. Petty did answer it partial, but If they do enclose it and we notice that our drainage is affected adversely, do we have rights to have them come out and correct it after the fact? Because I did not see that in the agreement.
Yes, sir. We can have that amendment put in there if we need to. But like I say, currently, all of our stormwater is underground, and there are inlets that tie into it.
Well, and even if it's not in the agreement, they would be obligated to fix it if they just somehow adversely affected any of our infrastructure.
Okay.
Yeah, there'd be a utility easement there.
The stormwater drainage was my concern as well. And if Mr. Petty is confident enough that it won't affect it negatively, then I might be okay with moving on.
All right, what do y'all want to do, gentlemen?
Mr. Petty, was there any study on that space made by engineering?
Not from the city side, no, sir.
I know when we've closed streets or tried to do any modifications to address any kind of flooding or drainage issues, we've had a street study before. I'd like to see something like that to make sure that it makes sense. I'm not sure why we didn't do that on this one.
Yeah, that's fine. If council wishes to have the city engineer take a look at it,
I just
we're
remember we
more
did
than
that
happy
for-
to do that.
I know we did that for 9th Street.
Yes, sir.
No, well, I would wish to have the railroad pay for it,
Yeah,
have their
exactly.
engineers look at it.
Yeah.
Well, we could certainly table this motion and put it on another agenda and have Lance call and say that we want them to pay for a mutually agreed upon engineering firm to discuss the parameters of it.
I like it.
I agree with that.
All right, do I have a second on the motion?
No, second, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Item number 7 is tabled. Thank you. Item number 8, consideration and possible action approving grant resolution number 2024-2856 for catalytic converter program. Chief Howe.
Good evening again, Mayor, Council. We are looking at applying for a grant that is done through the state through DPS regarding catalytic converter thefts, vehicle thefts. And one of the things is we could update our equipment. Our license plate readers are commonly referred to as LPRs, are over 8 years old, and they're no longer supported by the manufacturer as far as maintenance-wise go. So we were looking at applying for a grant to get updated LPRs. With the growth of the community, the increase in the port, as Rob had talked about earlier, for the increase of vehicles that had come in, we could see the advantage of being able to have those updated.
All right, I will move to approve the grant resolution ordinance 2024-2856. Do I have a second?
I'll second it, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Any further questions needed?
Yes, Mayor, I do have 2 questions.
Go ahead, sir.
Chief Howe, what are the future costs for these cameras?
So one of the things that we are evaluating on is actually we're trying to find out there's some other grants that could potentially cover those reoccurring costs. So depending on how many cameras we did go with and at what all area points of the city would depend on the cost. I mean, the annual cost could go anywhere from, roughly about, $25,000 on up, depending on how many cameras that were placed throughout the city. But again, we've got some other possible grants that might cover those reoccurring costs, and so that was something we're exploring as well.
Okay. Yeah, and that was going to be my second question was who would bear those costs if there were future costs? So you're stating that you would apply for grants to hopefully cover those costs?
Yes.
If not, then it would fall on the city to cover those costs?
Yes, in order to keep up on any maintenance contracts or anything, yes, sir.
Okay.
Good question. You have another one, sir?
No, that's all.
All right. I will call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried unanimously, 5-0. Thank you. Item number 9, Consideration and possible action approving resolution number 2024-2857, authorizing a revision to the City of Freeport Policy Handbook, Chapter 9, Employee Wages and Benefits, Section 9.11, Tuition Reimbursement. Mrs. Fisher.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
When our tuition reimbursement policy was last revised, it was 2019, and at that point in time, we would reimburse for up to 7 credit hours or up to $700 per semester. There was no annual cap set on that because at that time, most colleges had 16-week-long semesters and then 6-week summer semesters. Now, semester lengths vary anywhere from 3 to 16 weeks, and an employee could conceivably do a whole lot of short semesters and get up to $700 reimbursement for each of those short semesters, which was not anticipated when this policy was put into place. So we'd like to place an annual cap of $1,400 per employee per fiscal year for tuition reimbursement.
All right, well, I will make a motion that we approve this resolution 2024-2857. Do I have a second?
I'll second your motion, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Madam Morris. Discussion? Always good. Education's a good thing, so.
It is.
So, thank you, and the workforce is better off with it. So, with that in mind, I will call the question, and all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried unanimously, 5-0. Thank you. Item number 10, discussion of the proposed new light locations in the 2024 Annual Street Lighting Plan. Ms. Kramer.
Good evening, Council. I'm here tonight to present the proposed light locations for the 2024 illumination plan. We're not asking for any action. It's just a simple discussion tonight. I don't know if y'all have had an opportunity to look at the map and have any thoughts on the locations or anything you might want to change.
Looks good to me. Council, do you have any discussions on this? When would they start?
They're working on 2023 right now, so it would probably be the beginning of next year.
Okay, all right. Councilman Penn, you have something?
Yeah, so all the lights that were, I guess, mapped out for 2023 should be installed by when?
They're working on it. They're in the process of pulling all the permits now.
Do we have a timetable as to when it'll be completed?
I don't. It's really them pulling the permits and their crews. I would say in the next probably 3 or 4 months, they should get everything done.
End of summer?
Probably, yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments for Ms. Kramer?
I do have a suggestion of at least, I did read the packet that we only have 50, up to 50 per year, but there are 2 areas that I would like to see have lights added to them. One area is Avenue Q and the curve.
Where, sir?
Avenue Q.
Okay.
And right there on the curve from Avenue R going to on Q, that's a pretty dark area. And then going down Avenue Q where it the street about halfway through on Avenue Q, there's another cross street, and it's slipping.
Terry.
Yes, Terry, yes. Have a light there as well. If I have to give up a light,
Yeah, that's what I was fixing to ask.
there is a light that is proposed for Avenue H and Skinner. I would prefer to give that one up. And then the other light would be Zapata on the north side of Bradsport Boulevard.
Right there north of 288?
Yeah. That's all the changes that I would have for Ward C.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay,
Thank you, ma'am.
all right.
Item number 11 is another non-voting issue. It's an update on 8th Street parking study completed by the city engineer, Kimley Horn. Mr. Petty.
Yes, sir. On September 26, 2023, a motion by Planning and Zoning to draft an ordinance to install no parking signs in the 1700 block of 8th Street to include both sides of the road for safety concerns. The motion was passed 5-0. Staff presented it to council for consideration and possible action to add those signs at the request of the P&Z. Council instructed staff to task city engineer Kimley Horn to complete a parking study pertaining to the safety issues recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission. City engineer Kimley Horn has completed the requested study and has recommended that street parking should be allowed along 8th Street from SH 288 to Velasco Boulevard. This recommendation does include improvements by the city to install updated signage to support parking on 8th Street. With the guidance of council, I can instruct the staff to go ahead and get those signs ordered and installed. They also had recommended installing some cutbacks at the intersections and stuff to bring the road out. You'll see them in your documents. Those are going to be a little bit more expensive, but there is funding through the TxDOT and HGAC for Safe Route to School programs. So we will be reaching out, trying to get some funding for these improvements because you can use those funds within a half mile of the school, and that will encompass every bit of this. So I will be looking to try to get some funding sources for that.
All right, council, do you have any questions for Mr. Petty on 8th Street parking? I know the big issue was the 1700 block, I think is what we were concerned about. But
Yeah, 1700 block is the main concern. And for years, we had no parking on that. Okay, and there was a council before us, I couldn't tell you when it was, who was on it, that did that for a reason, for safety. Okay, we went in and removed them. I forget exactly what the reasoning was behind it, but we did remove the no parking signs. I think it was a conflict in an ordinance somewhere. But the citizens that I have spoke with in Ward B want the no parking signs back up.
citizens that live on that, specifically on that block?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Well, and that road is pretty busy. That's the main stretch going to the elementary. And as you can see on here, there's, daily traffic average of 1,261 cars. And it's during that school time in the mornings and the evenings. They fly down that road. Yes.
All right, well, I have heard the same thing from many of the folks that live down there, that they would like no parking. So that would certainly be my choice, but we're not making that decision today. But I think it will come up in the near future, I would think. So, anybody else have any comments on that? If not, we'll move on to, thank you, Mr. Petty, we'll move on to number 12, consideration and possible action approving ordinance number 2024-2729, amending the section 2-354 hotel occupancy tax, adding section I penalties. Mrs. Ezell.
Currently, the city's hotel occupancy tax ordinance does not allow for the charges of penalties and interest on past due hotel occupancy taxes. The change that we are bringing forward tonight would allow for the collection of penalties and interest on any person, company that fails to collect hotel occupancy tax opposed by the ordinance, fails to file a report as required, fails to pay the city tax imposed, or files a false report. And then it also adds into where the city attorney can file suit, which is something that we do currently if there is non-payment of hotel occupancy taxes. I researched this with various other cities. Every city that I have worked in the past they all charge penalties and interest on delinquent taxes, hotel occupancy taxes, just like delinquent utility bills, delinquent property taxes. This is something that is done as a common practice. It has come up as we have worked through one of the bigger delinquencies that we have, that our ordinance does not allow us to charge penalties and interest. And so this is to correct that wrong.
And has legal looked at this?
I have, and really essentially, we're just bringing our local ordinance into compliance with what state law already allows.
Yes.
Okay. All right, in that situation, then I will move to approve ordinance 2024-2729, amending section 2-354 of the hotel occupancy tax, adding section I, penalties. Do I have a second?
I'll second your motion, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Matamoros. Any discussion?
Yes, I have a couple of comments.
Yes, sir.
Questions for our CFO, Ms. Ezell. I'm curious, how many people allegedly owe back hot taxes currently in Freeport? Do we have a count on that? Do we have any information on that?
Right now, I have 2 that I'm working with.
We know who those 2 are?
Am I allowed to say?
Absolutely.
Yes. One is Motel 6, and one is you. One is you.
Me.
Yes.
As I've maintained, it appears I am being targeted again, if that information. So, exactly, it's funny. And for those at home, you can see the laughter in the audience. It is comical. But I had a couple other comments here. I'm curious how many times we've asked our city attorney, Olson & Olson, to create and modify the hot tax ordinance in an attempt to target me.
I've only been here since 2021, and this is the first time that I've done it, because whether or not you believe me or not, this is not because of you. This is because I have another hotel that owes us quite a bit of delinquent hotel occupancy taxes. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars.
Well,
So that's, if you'll excuse me, I'm
Sure.
not done.
go right ahead.
So it is in regards to the fact that these are delinquencies, that these taxes are owed, and we need to try to collect these, and it is the interest and penalties that'll be charged on that. It was not brought forward because of you. It was brought forward because of the fact that this needs to be done, as Mr. Olson stated, to be in accordance with state law and what we're allowed to do by state law.
Well, I looked it up. It was 4 times, and I just want the public to know how much Bass has asked Olson to pursue this, what I believe is a personal vendetta, and how much has been wasted. And so I'd like to know publicly how much has been spent by the city, billed by Olson & Olson on this particular topic. And I don't know if I can get that by the next meeting, or for that matter, the remainder of this week. It should be readily available, I would imagine. But I say that, I have 3 other things here. I want to make sure that we call this the Pena tax ordinance, because I've already paid an outside attorney to outline how it needs to be written correctly so as to save the city from high lawyer fees of Olson & Olson. Yet again, spending my own money to ensure the city can legally collect hot taxes from an ordinance that right now is still defective. Had it reviewed by an attorney again, but we'll get to that. I have spent more money than I would have ever owed, which is $0, by the way, in trying to ensure that the city does not spend a single tax dollar to pay Olson & Olson to correct an ordinance and to avoid court and legal fees. Yet the campaign to slander and persecute and prosecute takes priority from the direction of Bass and the yes men. The last thing I want to say is this ordinance is an illegal collection and harassment by City Hall of businesses and owners, and it needs to stop. I am hoping that with our current mayor no longer seated here, that justice can prevail and that this stupid and personal vendetta policies are no longer hurting the city of Freeport. If he has a personal vendetta, he should seek them out personally. But if he is, well, I'll just leave it at that. We can save the city money. I've offered here for the last 5 months to meet with the attorney that I've retained. They fixed it so that the ordinance is no longer defective, and we can save taxpayer money and, for that matter, court fees. But
Well, we appreciate your generosity on that, Councilman Pena.
Yeah, exactly. I owe no tax dollars. Thank you.
All right,
Mayor,
we'll see, but
I want to say,
Oh, no,
hold
here
on.
we go.
Councilman Matamoros, you have something you need to say?
yes, The statement that was just made is unequivocally false, and Mayor Bass did not bring this up. I did. I was the one, because I did the research. And you know what?
It's not
Other
any-
cities,
you know-
no,
Excuse me,
listen.
sir, wait a second. Councilman Pena, you are going to be quiet while Councilman Mattermore speaks.
Go ahead, George.
I did the research. I saw with my own eyes where people who have stayed, you have charged them a hot tax and never remitted that to the city. I've
Excuse me,
seen
what
it.
was that again?
I've seen it with my own eyes, a bill where a hot tax was charged to a person who stayed there. And it was
Stayed where?
at his B&B.
At Councilman Pena's B&B, that there was a bill that had a hot tax on it that you saw?
Yes.
Incredible.
And thus, when I saw it, I brought it up and asked. And if you look.
Thank you.
If you look.
False information, false information.
If you look, other cities surrounding us are looking at their books and seeing, hey, why aren't we collecting hot taxes? So this slanderous accusation against the mayor that he's the one.
You gotta know what the
Actually-
definition of
Excuse me, sir,
slander
Councilman
is.
Pena, you must be quiet. I gave you plenty of time to
Well,
get
I'm
your...
not gonna be
Excuse me,
slandered,
sir.
but accused of being
Excuse me, sir.
slanderous.
One more time, I'm going to ask you to be escorted out,
Ask the attorney.
Councilman.
You didn't ask me.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir. Now, Councilman Mattermore.
I was the one who brought this up to city staff to see, and it was then brought to the attention of council.
Where's my puppet? Where's my?
Councilman Mattermore, do you have a copy of that receipt?
I don't have that copy with me, but I can have it whenever, if legal or whoever needs to see it, I can
Sure.
have it.
All right, very good, thank you. All right, so getting back to the issue of adding, which we have a motion on the floor, adding penalties to those that do not pay hot taxes and interest. How say you, council? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
4-1, Councilman Pena is a nay. Item number 13, consideration and possible action approving interlocal agreement for cooperative radio frequency use between Port Freeport and the City of Freeport. Chief Motley.
Evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
This is an interlocal agreement on radio communications, kind of just make it short what over the term cooperative radio frequency agreement is. What we're addressing is public safety interoperability, meaning we can talk on the same frequency across frequencies as well on all levels of government or even private sector and non-governmental organizations as well. And this interlocal agreement will be between the Port of Freeport and the City of Freeport. I reached out to them for a relocation of our tower and repeater that was at Hopper Field. When they replaced the lighting, it did not include the equipment, but also the LED equipment interferes with the transmission. So this became a part of that discussion that the Director of Security and I had a long discussion, and also came out of other responses, after action review of responses to facilities that were not able to communicate with the same frequency. So as we put it together and address it, if you remember in 2022, the FEMA firefighter grant that came to you with multiple band radios, this is a part of that as well. What we're doing in the interlocal agreement is agreeing that each agency maintains their own frequencies by FCC, their own equipment, but we're able to transmit on each organization's radio frequency. And what the port has agreed to at their EOC headquarters is to provide us a rack space for our VHF radio, and with their generator and radio tower. We'll be able to put our antenna on their tower as well at no cost. The only cost is what we incurred. Those POs were already written when we were going to do Hopper Field. We've been waiting to complete this agreement so we can move forward on addressing that. So if you read back further in the packet, it goes back to the communications from September 11th from NIMS and all that were taught, and we follow under public safety response. This will also provide not just fire, but police department as well in their VHF radio system. And if we respond to a plant partner that's within the port interlocal agreement, we'll be able to transmit on their UHF frequency directly with them when we respond as well. So I encourage you, recommend approving this interlocal cooperative radio frequency agreement between Port Freeport and the city of Freeport.
I will so move. Do I have a second?
I'll make a second.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion needed? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried 5-0 unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Item number 14 is the work session. Council may deliberate and make inquiry into any item specifically listed as a subsection under the itemized sections A through F below. Councilman A, Councilman Pena, Ward A, announcements and comments.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody that came out as usual here. I know it's a sacrifice of your time, but an investment in your city, in our city, Freeport. And appreciate everybody that comes out to speak on behalf of moving Freeport forward. That said, I also want to touch on Riverfest and thank the city staff, all the emergency departments, first responders that were out there to help make it a success. I'm not sure what the numbers of attendance were compared to last year. I was curious what those might be, if Mr. Petty might have those. But needless to say, as we promote Riverfest, and for that matter, Fish and Fiesta, it just drives home the point. It's about the water. And the second thing I want to mention here is the Cinco de Mayo promotion that was here this last week, promoting Hispanic heritage and as well as the downtown Freeport. I want to thank the historic board here for putting that on, Ms. Anna Silvas. It was another great effort by the city staff as well, so thank you. I would also like to congratulate Councilman-elect from Ward B, Mr. Jarvis Davis. I've had a chance to visit and witness his commitment to transparency and serving the residents of Freeport. And so as far as all the other residents that participated in electing their councilman, I want to thank you for being a part of the election process, and I only ask that you extend your commitment to Freeport from the polling booth to also holding your elected officials accountable, and attend every meeting that you can and get involved in our community so that we might have the best Freeport ever. I'd also like to see if we can't get an answer to the question as to why we didn't have the swearing in of the newly elected officials here this evening. Do we have an answer on that, Mr.
Yes, because the election office has not canvassed the votes yet, and they will be canvassed, and we'll have a special election on the 13th. Oh, excuse me, a special meeting on the 13th for everybody to be sworn in. Does that answer your question?
No. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I also want to ask the chief of police to be in executive session to protect myself and the public from what violent outbursts and illegal threats that Mr. Bass has demonstrated in the past. And I have nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman B, Councilman Kane, excuse me, Ward B.
Thank you, Mayor. I too would like to thank everybody that came out tonight. Obviously, they came to see your last meeting.
No, I don't think so.
You know, Mayor, it's been an honor working beside you.
Thank you.
And I, for one, would like to thank you for your guidance and your leadership. As Councilman Pena said, the Riverfest was a great success. Every city can have a festival. They can have a carnival. They can have food trucks and get corn dogs and funnel cakes and whatever you want. But most of them cannot have boat races in the middle of it. And the boat in the wind. The wind just added so much to the boat races. You know, when they were out there warming up, just doing donuts out there, and they'd hit full throttle, and next thing you know, the whole boat's out of the water. It was incredible. So my hat's off to all those that were involved in the Riverfest. Unfortunately, I was unable to make the Cinco de Mayo celebration, but knowing the way Anna does it, I'm sure it was a great success as well. I would like to thank all the citizens that came out and voted this past election. Regardless of who won, I was going to say the citizens got it right. And I say that because y'all are the ones that elect us to be up here. So congratulations to those that did make it. And for those that didn't, I'm not going to say that those that lost, but those that did not make it, my hat's off to y'all, because it is a real stressful situation to put yourself in. And unlike some of the elections we've had in the past where there has been a lot of bickering, back and forth, both brought up here and in private and on the streets, everybody was professional. You know, on election day, all the candidates were sitting out here in one general spot, and you know, everybody sharing their ideas and their beliefs, and that's the way it should be. So my hat's off to the city of Freeport. Thanks for the support, and personally, I'm looking forward to 3 years.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Adam Morris, Ward C.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to thank the residents and visitors who attended in person and viewed online. Thank you to those residents who spoke during citizens' comments and on any agenda items. I would like to highlight a successful Phillips 66 golf tournament at the Freeport Golf Course. Speaking with many of my colleagues, they were raving of the condition of the golf course. So congratulations to Brian and his staff for the hard work to keep it in such great shape. I also would like to let council know that the EDC has been granted a $50,000 grant for the Parks project from Phillips 66.
That's great. That's great.
With the money that they have set aside and this $50,000, it will go a long way to help our parks get the needed upgrades. Riverfest was a great success. I was fortunate enough to be a judge for the Little Mr. and Miss Riverfest, and that was a good time had by all. The boat races and the booths were also good, along with the music and barbecue judging. I would like to make council aware, as the council liaison for the Board of Adjustments, that there was a lawsuit filed by Councilman Pena against the Board of Adjustments. And so I'd like to have that on the next meeting so we can discuss that. It was filed late and never served to the city. Going to our election, I too would like to congratulate Councilman-elect Jarvis Davis on his election victory. Also, the re-election of Mr. Winston Rosso and our mayor-elect Jerry Kane. Congratulations. And the last thing that I have is, I would like to thank Mayor Bass for all his dedication to our city. His time served on the city EDC and the other numerous boards as a liaison while a councilman and mayor is just proof of his dedication to our city. We didn't agree on everything, but we kept it civil. Thank you, Mayor Bass, and most of all, thank you to your family for your dedicated service to our great city. Thank you.
Thank you. Sit down and shut up. So so much for being nice. So, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It means a lot. Councilman Rosso, and thank you, Councilman Morris.
Well, being the last one to speak, y'all didn't leave me much to talk about that you hadn't already talked about. First of all, I want to thank all the voters, everyone that voted for me. Apparently you want me to be here another 3 years, which I am so glad to be a part of the council in the city of Freeport. And if you really know me, you know I really love this city. And I've said it more than once, I could live anywhere in the world, but I chose to live in Freeport. And my wife asks me all the time, said, what are we doing in Freeport? Anyway, Cinco de Mayo was success. I believe everything we do in Freeport is successful. Every positive thing that we do in Freeport is successful. And I know we have a lot of negative things going on in this city, but you got that in just about every city. I want you to look forward to Yard of the Month, Business of the Month. We're going to be riding around looking, and we need you guys to nominate yards, businesses that look good, and it's coming down the pipe. Riverfest was successful. The boat races, the fireworks, all that was successful. I thank God for us having all these events all the time. And last but not least, I want to thank our mayor. I love Mr. Brooks. My dad loved his dad. So it's been going on for a long time. We really enjoy the Brookses. Thank God for you, Mayor. You're going to be missed highly. I'm just hoping Jerry can keep this thing going, keep the meeting flowing. And once again, thank you, Freeport. I love you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Petty, thank you.
Yes, sir, and from the city staff, we would like to thank Mayor Brooks Bass as well. All your service and dedication, I mean, you attend everything that's needed from the mayor, and honestly, over my 31-year career, this is my fourth city, and I have never had a mayor that has the educational background of their city. Just to listen to him speak about the city of Freeport and the history of it is something in itself. I know I came here from about 45 minutes northwest of Fort Worth. Had no idea about hurricanes. And as soon as I get in here, he's like, hey, there's one brewing out there. And instantly I thought, well, we better run. And his calming voice was like, don't worry, I've got my eye on it. And just about 90% of the time, the Dow bubble takes care of it. So we'll be all right. So he's been a great mayor, and I appreciate everything he's done and the knowledge that I've gained for the city of Freeport. And another thing I can tell you why you're in Freeport. When me and my wife came down here to visit and interview, when we left here, we both looked at each other and said, if they offer me the job, this is where we're going. This city is friendly. It doesn't matter what color you are. We were shocked at the residents here. We were shocked at how beautiful it is here. We really have something special here and something to look forward to, and I'm glad to be part of that. So thank you again, Mayor.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, normally I don't have any announcements and comments, but I'm going to make a couple now. I'd like to take a moment of privilege, personal privilege, to introduce a couple of folks in the audience. One, that big lug back there sitting in front of Barry Simmons, my brother Mike Bass. Mike, if you'll stand up. There you go. Mike is the athletic director for Alvin Independent School District. They have 4 high schools, and I don't know how many junior highs, and I don't know how many elementaries, but I'm glad you're here, brother. I love you. Next is my sister Gail Ann Durbin. And you better say you love me. Yeah. And her husband Skip. Yep. But the reason I am not running for another 3 years is in the audience as well. That is my lovely wife, Stephanie Grace Uherick Bass. So I appreciate the family being here. And normally, I would not feign to refute or say anything back about what people put on Facebook, because most of you know I think Facebook is the devil. Sorry, Mr. Gray, I know you make money off of it. That's fine, but it's still the devil. But I have to just do this, and I want to do it real brief because I don't want to give him much time at all. But it's in response to Councilman Pena's latest rant. I think it's his latest. It was a 30-minute rant that somebody talked to me about it. And there's a lot of stuff in there that I could talk about. And I'm not going to talk about him saying that I use cocaine or, that I've used the N-word in meetings. Only N-word I think I've used is maybe nincompoop. And I was trying to describe Councilman Pena. But what I think the biggest issue I have with him is that he said that I have comments about interracial couples. That I have comments about interracial couples. And you know what he says? He always goes, he doesn't say, well, he doesn't have,
Mr. Wilson, is this on the agenda allowed?
Yes, it is, because it's actually part of announcements and comments.
Is this germane?
Yes.
To anything that's on the agenda? I don't think so.
Yeah, thank you.
Well,
so
because I know that you've
because see, if you would understand, the agenda, you would say that you could not
You twist the
speak.
interpretation for yourself.
Okay, well, very good. So let me finish this. So what he says
It's not on the agenda.
is, I was told, or I've been told,
You can say all you want
or
up there.
I've
Take a
been
lie
vetted,
detector.
or something like that. Councilman Pena, my brother Mike is married to a beautiful Hispanic woman. My sister Melissa is married to a beautiful African-American man. My oldest brother Bo is fixed to be married
Take a lie detector,
to a
Brooks,
South
and quit the
Korean.
charade. Quit
My
the charade.
wife,
Take a lie
excuse me,
detector.
Councilman Pena, you are just so full of manure that it stinks in here. It stinks.
There it is.
So, but
There's your enablers.
that is the biggest point I wanted to have with you, is that I have a more interracial family than you do.
You don't know
and
anything about me.
And I'm appalled.
You don't know anything about
I'm
me.
appalled. I know enough about you.
You just
No,
make
I
up
don't.
lies,
I know.
which forces me to tell truths about you.
Okay, very good. So, that's all I wanted to say
More
about
lies
That's all I wanted to say about
and
Jim
more
Pena.
truths coming.
Thank you. That's all goodness gracious, Jeff.
More lies.
You think I'd be out of office, that, you wouldn't need to attack me anymore, but
You got 2
hey,
weeks.
that's great. But let me say this. No, ma'am, we're not going to do it. I appreciate it, but, okay, well, I'm almost done.
Here we go.
Council-elect, Councilman Davis, you're going to have to keep your hat off when you come up here and sit up here. You understand that? All right, I let you wear it out there, but up here you don't need to wear it. Councilman Pena, he's his own person. He's going to do whatever he wants, regardless of polite society or not.
Does Andy get to wear his hat?
But what
Do
I'd
those
like
other
to say
guys
is
over
this.
here get to wear their hats?
God, dog. What I would really like to say, without any eruption, is that the city of Freeport is in my heart, always has been. I'm 57 years old. I was born and raised here. I love it. Probably never leave it. And it's been my pleasure, my high honor to represent you folks as Councilman Ward B and as mayor. And I am sad to go, but there's a time for everything. So all I would say is what Dan Rather said with one word on his last transmission. Courage. So with that, do we have any more statements? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Desiree Pearson, Front Street in Freeport. So earlier, I didn't get to comment because it came up, he talked about it after a citizen's comment. He referred to you as like racial comments to him. But I looked at both of his arrests, the DWI and the 2 felonies. He's identified as a white male. So I don't know if that's what you have on your driver's license. So if that's so, then it would not, he couldn't be calling you in racial because you're identified as a white male. I was just
Mr.
wondering.
Olson, what's your thoughts?
So also the transparency, he's talking about costing the city with the attorney fees. He fails to tell people that he cost the city over $150,000 on the Braztex witch hunt, which he doesn't ever say that's what he led. But anyway, it's over, so.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now going into executive session regarding consultation with attorney, update regarding
Do you
marinate
have that
music
motion,
versus.
Mayor? My motion?
Can I read
for
this
Chief?
first, please?
Yeah, please,
Thank
go
you.
ahead.
Versus City of Freeport, payroll issue pursuant to section 551.071, deliberations about real property, number 1, 200 West Second Street, number 2, O.A. Fleming, number 3, Jim Maddox Properties, Freeport, 19, excuse me, gentlemen, could y'all please wait while I finish reading this? Thank you. No, sir, thank you.
Go ahead.
Jim Maddox Properties, Freeport 19 LLC, Skinner Street Development. Number 4, update regarding Realty World Development pursuant to section 551.072. I now have a motion to include City Manager Petty into the meeting executive session. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
I don't care. He's not going to get anything
Jeff
tonight. We have a
seconds.
second from Councilman Kane. All right, all those in
There's
favor
the
say
list,
aye. Aye. All opposed?
You're ashamed to as the mayor.
All opposed? All of you agreeing to it, Councilman Vigna?
I made the second motion for the record, whether
Okay.
you want to acknowledge me or not.
All right, it's 5-0
Idiocy.
would be the vote. Thank you. Now, Councilman Pena, do you have a motion to make, sir?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to include the police chief in executive session to help protect myself. It's real funny. But when you guys come up here and say, hey, my safety's a concern, your personal safety, I just want to let you know
Do you
it's
have a
mine
motion,
too.
sir?
My safety is also important. And so my point is.
Your
I hope
motion
that-
is what?
I hope that the council censures the mayor
Your motion is what, sir?
for his obscene profanity in the
Okay.
last meeting. So my
All right.
motion is to make sure that we can invite the chief of police or any commissioned officer in executive session. I would
Okay,
prefer
so
Chief
we
Howe
have,
because
excuse me,
she's the
sir,
assistant-
excuse me, sir, we have a.
because she's the assistant
Excuse me, sir,
manager.
we have a motion for a police officer or the chief of police to be in executive session. Is there a second? Is there a second? Hearing none, the motion fails. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're now in executive session. Thank you very much.
What a dick. What a dick.